Hi, this is Tom with World Class Coaching with this week's animated drill. This is a turning activity, and it's an environment that I really like. It's an activity that I came up with just as a repetitive training activity, just to give the players a lot of opportunities to turn with the ball. I also like the complexity of it because they have to be thinking about it all the time. At the beginning, I have each player with a ball apart from the player in the middle and then the one player on the outside. This player then runs to this player and tags them. You could say a high five, if you will. So they tag that player, and then they run back out to show for the ball. As they run to show for the ball, that player that they tagged follows them like a defender would. And so now the pass is made from this player into that player. We'll show that as a dotted line. And the pass is made into that player, and then the player who receives the ball then turns and comes out this other way. So they're here. They turn, receive the ball across their body. That's one of the coaching points we talk about. If it comes to this foot, then we've got the defender stepping that way as they step that way. So we want to turn with either the inside of the right foot, outside of the left foot, something that gets us away from that defender so we're able to turn and then dribble to the end of the line. So the ball has moved from there to there. The ball has then been dribbled to the end of the line. So we'll move that player to the end of the line. And then just to show you how this activity continues, now you see that we have the player here without the ball. So this player that's in the middle now just completes that pattern again. They come out, tag this player, turn, run to the middle to show for the ball. As the player that they tagged follows them, they receive the pass, they turn, and we continue with the same pattern. So that just takes a little time for the players to understand and to get into the flow of it. I suggest starting this with larger groups so the players have an opportunity to watch the people in front of them go. They have a little break after they're done. You could do this with 2 players in each line. It's just going to mean that everybody's moving all the time. And initially, you want to give them that break just so they can figure it out. Ideally, you want to work to the level where all the players are active. Obviously, we want to keep everybody as active as we can. We don't want to have a lot of standing in lines and waiting. But here, when they're standing, they're actually learning the activity. So don't rush past that phase, or you'll find that the players have a tough time getting it and they never quite get all of the nuance of it and make sure they're doing it correctly. So we got to make sure that they tag that player, turn, show for the ball. There's so much to coach here. You can talk about the player as they turn, they're calling for the ball. We talk about how we need to check our shoulder to see that defender behind us. Initially, I have the players checking just directly to the ball just to train the pattern. Eventually, you want to get them to understand that if they check at an angle, now they've drugged that defender away from that space, and now they have an opportunity to turn inside if the defender's followed them there and is really close. If the defender's here, they receive the ball, then they can turn to the outside where the space is. You can also progress this to have the defender indicate which side they're pressuring by, say, having their hand on the shoulder of that player. So if they have the hand on the shoulder of this player that's showing, then that player knows that they can then turn to the inside because the pressure's on the outside. If the pressure's on the inside, they'll turn to the outside. And so they can start to feel that pressure. We always want them checking their shoulder, though, to be sure that they've got that part of it as well. So there's just a ton you can do with this in terms of coaching all the specifics. You can talk about the timing of this run, and that becomes important as you move into the next phase where we take all of the balls away except for one. And so now as this player receives the ball here with the defender on their back, and then they turn away from that pressure and they have the ball here, now what we want, instead of the player dribbling back to the end of the line, is we want them making a pass to this next player who's come in front of the cone to show for it. So now when that player has passed it, they go and join the end of the line. But this player needs to check their shoulder to see where that ball is. Maybe there's a bad pass. Maybe it was out here. Maybe it was a poor touch that didn't allow the player to, be ready to pass right away. So this player has to decide, how they time this run. Do they sprint back there and then sprint out? Do they jog out to tag them and then maybe make a run away before then checking back toward the ball to show for it? with the defender on them. So you can talk about that timing of the movements, the angle of the movements, all of those things that are so important when we're showing for the ball with our back to pressure. So this is a great activity. I really like it. There's a lot of engagement in it. It forces the players to really think. Once you get them to the level where they understand the pattern, they understand the pressure, they know when to check their shoulder. We've talked about asking for the ball every time. Obviously, before you did something like this, you would work on all the different types of turns. So turning with the inside of the foot, outside of the foot, perhaps, behind the leg, or turning to face up the defender, so that they can then choose which is the appropriate turn given the amount of pressure they're under. So I find that this is a great activity to work on turning, because you just get so many opportunities. It's so repetitive, and yet there's a lot of room for it to be different for the players each time they go through the pattern. So give that a try with your teams. I think you'll find it works really well.